Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into the absolutely shocking final chapter of Stranger Things and the massive fan theory that says the happy ending you saw, yeah, it wasn't real at all.
So let's just start with this one simple, kind of terrifying question. What if that happy ending was a total lie? I mean, think about it. This is the question that has absolutely consumed millions of fans, the idea that maybe the show didn't just end, it actually tricked every single one of us.
And we're not talking about some fringe idea here. Now, millions of people are completely convinced that those final triumphant moments, where our heroes finally get a break, they never actually happened. They think it was all some kind of psychological illusion. It's grown way beyond just a theory, really. It's practically an online movement, with people digging for clues to prove that the official ending is a total fraud. Okay, so let's get right into it. The theory has a name, and it's a good one. Conformity Gate. That's what the fans are calling it, and it's really become this rallying cry for everyone who watched that finale and just felt, that something was deeply, deeply wrong.
So what is Conformity Gate? Well, the basic idea is this. That picture-perfect ending feels too perfect, right? It goes against everything the show has been about. Trauma, being an outsider, fighting back. The theory says that instead of a real victory, that epilogue is actually Vecna's ultimate power move. It's a psychological prison, a false reality designed to pacify the heroes and us, the audience, to make us just give up.
Okay, so what's the actual proof here? I mean, this is where it gets really, really interesting. The people who believe in this have put together this insane list of visual clues they say are hiding in plain sight. Clues that prove the reality we're seeing in those final scenes is completely broken.
All right, let's start with the visuals, the stuff right there on the screen. First up, the way characters are standing. See the clasped hands? Fans immediately pointed out that this posture is weirdly similar to how people look when they're under Vecna's control. Then there are the graduation gowns. They're orange, a color often associated with prison jumpsuits. And it gets weirder. You've got things like inverted doorknobs and these super prominent exit signs everywhere, which give off this major Truman Show vibe. Suddenly, that happy celebration starts to feel pretty sinister.
And believe me, the rabbit hole goes deep. It got so intense that fans created this whole document, some call it the 67 Gate dossier, that catalogs every single little inconsistency they could find. We're talking about things like watches that don't show the time, or small changes to props in the background. Now, you could say those are just production mistakes, right? But the theory argues they're intentional glitches in Vecna's fake reality.
But maybe the biggest, most direct clue of all is this one. Check out the D&D binders on the shelf in the background of one of the final scenes. Fans with eagle eyes spotted this, and wow. If you look at the letters on the binders, they seem to spell out a message. X-A lie. I mean, come on, that feels like a direct message that what we're watching isn't real.
So you might be thinking, okay, this is just fans seeing what they want to see, right? Reading way too much into things. Well, what if I told you there's something in the official show history that actually backs this up? And the craziest part? It was hidden somewhere most of us would never, ever look.
It turns out a huge chunk of Stranger Things lore was dropped in a Broadway play. Seriously. It's called The First Shadow, and it is 100% canon. This isn't just some fun little side story. What happens in this play completely changes how you see Vecna and his master plan.
And check out this timeline, which is pieced together from what we learn in the play. It's wild. It all starts back in 1943 with the Philadelphia experiment, a real-world conspiracy theory about the U.S. Navy accidentally ripping a hole into another dimension, which the show calls DimensionX. The play then reveals that in 1959, a young Henry Creel, that's Vecna of course, found this connection. So this suggests he's known how to mess with reality for decades, which makes that happy ending seem a lot less like a victory and a lot more like a trap he's been planning forever.
Okay, so this all brings us back to the real world, because a theory like Conformity Gate doesn't just pop up out of nowhere. It needed the perfect storm of circumstances to really take hold. And it wasn't just about hidden clues. It was about what we, the audience, were expecting. For starters, the stakes were just impossibly high. The final season reportedly cost somewhere around $500 million. Think about that. That's one of the most expensive TV shows ever made. The Duffer Brothers themselves said they wanted it to feel like the biggest movie Netflix ever made. When you spend that kind of money and set that kind of goal, you create absolutely massive expectations from the fans.
And all that ambition? Well, it led to a finale that split people right down the middle. Critics, they mostly liked it, gave it a solid 85% on Rotten Tomatoes. But the audience? Whoa. Their score dropped all the way down to 56%. That is the single biggest gap between critics and fans in the show's entire history. And it points to this huge disconnect between what the show delivered and what a lot of viewers actually wanted.
So why the backlash? Well, sources point to a few key things. A lot of viewers just felt the ending played it way too safe, that there weren't any real lasting consequences for the main characters. Others felt it got bogged down in way too much exposition, just explaining things over and over. And then on top of all that, you have to remember the season was also hit with a really nasty homophobic review bombing campaign after Will's big scene in episode 7, and that for sure played a role in that low audience score.
So all of this, all the clues, the lore, the backlash, it all leads us to one last giant question. The question at the very heart of this whole thing. What did the Duffer Brothers really want us to see? It really comes down to two possibilities, right? On the one hand, maybe it was all intentional. Maybe the Duffer Brothers created this brilliant, dark, psychological ending, and they deliberately left all these little clues for the most dedicated fans to piece together the real horrifying truth. But there's a much simpler explanation. Production errors. I mean, on a $500 million show, things get missed. Maybe a disappointed fan base just took a bunch of normal continuity mistakes and built them into this huge conspiracy theory because, for them, the real ending just didn't work. And in the end, the sources really leave it up to you to decide. So who really won? Was the ending a comforting lie created by Vecna, or was it a hard-won truth for our heroes? Whether it was all a brilliant masterpiece or just a bunch of mistakes, there's no denying that Conformity Gate has completely changed the legacy of Stranger Things. It's left all of us with one last, chilling mystery to solve, long after the credits rolled.